how much do you know about the idea of money? Not about money, not about finance, not about guru bullshit, airport Marriott seminars and scams and not even that, dude. Just how much do you know about the idea of money itself? And you're going to find that most people are really confused because it's a confusing topic and it's deliberately confusing. I'm not trying to waste your time with this. I'm pointing this out. It's deliberately confusing. Understand, governments and bankers have had thousands of years to make it a taboo, strange topic. And in America in particular, Western world in particular, right, the topic of money is like, oh, it's rude to bring it up. You have to overcome that as well, of how many people who've been taught like, oh, it's rude to ask about this, or that's a taboo subject. You shouldn't talk about money and business and politics and religion. All the things that actually have real effect on your life. Don't ever talk about those things. Okay, well, so then you have to say, hold on a minute here. How are you supposed to have that easy going conversation? You can't, right? So it's why I don't bring it up all the time. I pepper it in periodically, right? And I do that because I want people to learn some of the rest of the stuff too. My goal here, okay, I mean, aside from my personality and everything, I realize I have an abrasive personality. I look all cute and cuddly, but I'm a heads on spikes kind of guy in real life. So I try to tone it down a lot for this kind of stuff. But this is kind of the reality. You try to bring people up to speed a little bit, so that way they at least understand some basic stuff, and then you can build from there. And it's much easier to talk to them than later on. If you're not trying to you don't come across as you're trying to get them to do something. It's much easier to talk to them from a real standpoint. And of course, also you have to also remember have some compassion. Which again, I'm going to go back to this, and I'm going to tie it off with this because I've already talked way too long. You have to have compassion for where a lot of people are. They're not in a position. That's not how I want to say that. I want to say it this way. Think of how many people don't want to admit that they may not understand something fully, right? Particularly when it comes to money. Especially when it comes, not just money as an idea, but currency, right? That's, like I said, bankers and politicians have had thousands of years to make that topic strangely complicated. They've had lots of time. Whenever you go to do a house signing, you ever close on a house and they bring out that big fucking packet of shit that you got to sign? Okay, so that's because all these people have had lawyers and land barons and all this other shit. They've had, and government, bankers, etc. They've had hundreds of years to make this as complicated a fucking process as possible, to scare people off, to make them think that you need to have all these other people in between, all your middlemen, right? They've had all this time to do that, and you're taking that away by saying, no, we're going to get rid of all those people. Well, think about it. What if you're talking to one of those people? Well, they're scared of that. They don't want to do that. They don't want to lose out on all that. And just so addiction, all these problems are coming up. This stuff, it affects so much because it does unravel a lot of problems. It solves a lot of issues and it unravels a whole bunch. And it clarifies a bunch of things. But you're also scaring the shit out of a lot of people. So I hope that helps. That's why I don't bring this stuff up a ton. My recommendation to anybody is take the time, if you understand some of this stuff and you want to explain currency to people, dude, explain currency to people. Explain to them the idea. Get them to understand just the idea. Actually, start with this. If you could get anybody to understand anything, if there's only one thing I could teach somebody, that if I could teach them, and if I knew that they understood it, if there's any one thing I could get someone to understand, it would be this. Understanding the idea of having to buy a currency from somebody else first in order to use that currency then to buy their stuff. Just that action alone means that they're able to export whatever inflation that they want, whatever shit they dream up in their head. They say, well, my currency is worth this much more money than your currency, so give me this currency and I'm going to give you this back. Same shit that the money changers were doing in the temple. Same shit. Okay? Why do you think Jesus was so pissed? Whether Jesus is real or not is irrelevant. Okay, it doesn't make any difference. You know, I mean, whether he was a real guy, a god, it doesn't make any difference. For the purposes of that conversation, that's what I'm talking about. Why do you think he was so pissed? It's because they were deliberately giving back debased currency. They were exporting inflation to that person, and then having that person having to take that and then give it to the temple, as an example. Okay, so when someone like Putin says you need to buy rubles in order to buy oil, they get to export their inflation through the ruble. When the U.S. says, hey, you have to buy U.S. dollars first before you buy oil, it gives them an opportunity to export their inflation. If there's any one thing I get people to really, truly, like in their heart of hearts and like deep inside their brain, if I could drill that into people and get them to understand that, then Bitcoin's a piece of cake. Because then they start saying, oh, hold on, you're wanting to pay me in something you can conjure out of nothing? I'm not doing that. I'm not cleaning your septic system, for example, if you're going to pay me in something that you can conjure out of nothing, or that anybody can just conjure out of nothing and then dole out whenever they want, so that way they can be rich. Just that alone, that one thing, if they could understand that, then everything else is extremely easy to teach, because they pick it up. They're going to go, oh, hold on. And you can teach almost anybody. If they can understand that idea, then they can pick it up a lot faster. I hope that answers the question beyond any uncertainty.